Hello ladies and gentlemen and everyone beyond. I am BabyNoobCakes and this is Twitch Prime free game reviews. And in this episode, we're going to be taking a look at one of the June 2020 free games, Project Warlock. It was created by Buckshot Software, which is headed by a now 19-year-old named Jacob Sislow. I might be pronouncing that wrong. And he's been working on this project since he was only 16. It was released on PC in 2018 and just received console releases for PlayStation 4 on June 9th, 2020, Nintendo Switch on June 11th, and Xbox One on June 12th. But now, let's attempt to answer the question, as one of the free games of the month, was it worth it? Mechanics. Project Warlock is a single-player first-person shooter. It is 100% an homage to 90s shooters like Doom, Serious Sam, Unreal Tournament, Hexen, Blood, and Heretic. It is fast and frenetic and requires an itchy trigger finger. If you played the original Doom games, you'll be right at home. The levels are maze-like, and each contains a set of keys to open locked doors. There are health and mana pickups all over the level, secret walls to open, enemy ambushes, and an exit door to get to the next level. The biggest change that this game makes is that it actually allows you to pursue different playstyles. This game actually has quite a few RPG elements. It has 3 separate upgrade systems and a mana bar. By killing enemies and finding treasure throughout the levels, you can earn XP, and whenever you level up, you get more stat points. You can spend these stat points to increase your strength, which affects your melee damage, your health, which of course increases your HP, your spirit, which affects your magic, and your carrying capacity, which affects how many bullets you can hold. And every 5 levels you earn also nets you a perk point, which can be spent to gain unique bonuses depending on which stat points you've leveled up. You can also find upgrade points throughout the levels that you can spend in one of 2 ways. The first is by buying upgrades for your various weapons, transforming them into much more powerful versions of the base weapon. Although, depending on how you want to play, you can instead spend these points on buying magic spells, like a blast of ice to freeze your enemies or lightning to shock them. I think that no matter which path you take, you are still going to be dependent upon the guns that you pick up throughout your playthrough. Because while there are lots of magic pickups throughout the game, I still don't think there's quite enough to rely solely on magic. And since most enemies have projectile weapons to use against you, using only melee may provide too difficult a challenge. But by using the upgrade systems, you can specialize into either magic or melee damage, or you can focus more on the guns, which is pretty cool. Art style. Like I already said, this game draws heavy inspiration from the original Doom games, going so far as to have most of the backgrounds be very squarish hallways, and most of the enemies and items in game are just 2D sprites that always turn to face the player. However, they are incredibly well animated, and there are unique enemies to each world you visit throughout the game that have their own sets of animations and attacks. And the various worlds of the game also have a wide variety of genres that they pull inspiration from. You start off in a castle fighting against knights and demons, but eventually you'll end up visiting Antarctica in a level themed around the movie The Thing, fighting guys in biohazard costumes and terribly malformed horrors. But then, in the next level, you're fighting Egyptian gods and the Scorpion King. The backgrounds are rendered in 3D, but having most of the enemies and items be only 2D sprites, it means this game runs incredibly fast and smooth, and it's hardly a challenge for your graphics card. Additionally, whenever you beat a boss, you're presented with a really cool action still, which you then unlock in a gallery in the menu. Sound. The guns are loud, and the demon screams are even louder. Again, following in the footsteps of its ancestor Doom, the guns are super satisfying to use, and you'll always know when an enemy is attacking you because they never hesitate to scream in your face while they shoot you with fireballs. Project Warlock also features a lot of MIDI-style metal music, mixed in with some live instrument recordings, and really keeps the pace high with the intense music. And actually, each level has its own unique track that plays along with it. Replayability. To complete the main game, it will take you about 6.5 to 8 hours. There are 5 worlds to visit, each with 4 stages and a boss, and each stage is usually broken down into 2 separate levels that you progress through. There are 3 different levels of difficulty to play as well, and I would probably suggest for you to start off on the lowest difficulty until you get used to the game at least. This lowest difficulty level is actually the only one where you have unlimited lives. On normal, you start off with 3 lives, and you can find more during your playthrough, but once those are gone, you lose all of your upgrades and you are dead, back to the beginning of the game to start off from square one. And the highest difficulty sees you trying to beat the game with only 1 life. And while there are plenty of health pickups, this one is probably only reserved for people who play Doom on Nightmare mode. Narrative. There isn't really much to the story, but they do attempt to tell one a little bit. You are a warlock, and you're trying to defeat the evil in the world with your magic and your guns. That's about all I was able to figure out. My opinion. When I first started this game up, I thought I probably wouldn't end up playing it for very long. I thought I'd get some footage and make this a really short video and really only end up showing off the first couple levels or so. Because as soon as I started up the game, I experienced one of the things that's one of my biggest complaints about this game. Almost every single encounter, the enemies are attacking you before you even know that they're there. And inevitably, I quickly died off, having started the game up in normal mode, thinking I could handle it, and I got a little frustrated. But I figured I'd restart on the easiest difficulty and just kind of see how far I could get. But after I made it through the first world, I made it to the first boss, which was actually really cool. It had its own unique mechanics, and while later bosses are much more unique, I did enjoy my battle against the sorcerer. And then when I made it to the second world, I started to get a lot more impressed with what this game has to offer. Without having done much research before I started playing, I figured that, like the first world, the entirety of the game would just be set in dark castles full of demons and knights in armor and that kind of stuff. But then once I made it to World 2 and saw that there were a lot of influences from The Thing and other Arctic movies about outbreaks and aliens and that kind of thing, I started to get a lot more interested and invested in the gameplay. I started really enjoying myself, and after that I really couldn't put it down. If you've watched my previous videos, you know that first-person shooters are not my favorite genre of game, but maybe it's just that I don't like the multiplayer aspect of those games. I've played Doom before and I liked it okay, but I didn't actually get my hands on it until the Xbox 360 arcade version, so I was coming into it years, decades even, after its initial release, and I think I just didn't understand what it meant for people who played it when it originally came out. But Project Warlock really carries on that type of experience and brings a lot more modern trends to it. I'm still not very good at FPSs. I did have to play this one on super easy respawn whenever you die mode, but I still had a lot of fun reveling in all the references to older movies and games and mythology, and Project Warlock goes way beyond just references as well. It's a hard game, and it's a challenge for sure. And it also brings, while maybe not the deepest of mechanics, at the very least, ones that kept me coming back. It also has a set of unique boss fights, which again, might just be my lack of experience with the genre, but it did surprise me that they weren't just bigger versions of the smaller enemies, or just plain bullet sponges that never really had a chance of killing you, but just took forever to kill. I guess in the end, I really did have a lot of fun with the game, and I would recommend it to a lot of people, even if you're not huge fans of the genre. Was it worth it? If you were a fan of the original Doom or any games like it, this is definitely a game that you need to check out. As far as the system requirements go, they're a little higher than I thought they'd be, but that really shouldn't stop anyone from being able to play this one, as long as you have a PC that's not older than 5 or more years at this point. And coming in at about $12 at full price, it's actually the cheapest game we got this month from Twitch Prime. But for anyone looking for a challenging FPS with extremely fast combat and a surprising amount of character build customization, and anyone who is into first-person shooters from the early 90s and who really wants to get that feeling back, this game is definitely worth a look. If you're not into first-person shooters, there's not really a whole lot for you here. And even though I feel like this game takes a little bit of time to get into, I'm gonna have to say that this one is worth it. It's definitely not for everyone, and because of that, I'd have to say that this game, it really rides the line between being worth it and not, but because of the obvious amount of dedication, love, and faithfulness to the games that it's based on, it puts it over that line and does make it a worthy addition to our Twitch Prime free games. But maybe that's for you to decide. Whether you agree or disagree with my judgment, get at me in the comments. Let me know what you think, and let's discuss if this month's games were worth it or not. Also, don't forget to go onto the Twitch app and download your free games every month, because hey, they're free, and sometimes you'll end up with a few gems. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please like, comment, and subscribe, because I take a look at the Twitch Prime free games every month. But until then, I'll catch you later.